Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena and I'm so excited to spend some time with you guys today. I have so much knitting to show you and talk to you about. If you are new here, I hope you enjoy spending some time with me today. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. You have no idea how much your company means to me and how much it enriches my knitting life. And my knitting life, in the Venn diagram of life, my knitting life is like, there's only a tiny sliver that's not my knitting life. I consider my entire life my knitting life. So anyway, thank you for being here. I am so excited to show you my completed pair of socks, y'all. I just finished these this morning and I am so happy to say that I am officially a sock knitter. I did it. I transformed myself from not quite getting it to totally getting it, and that is in no small part due to y'all's lovely suggestions, your help, your enthusiasm, little tidbits about your journeys. I just cannot tell you how much they have meant and how they have really come together to make me understand deeply what is so lovely and appealing about socks. And honestly, I kind of feel like I invented fire or something when I finished these socks, because there's just something about being able to make a heel and a foot that just felt really magical to me, because it's very different than making like a shawl or something. A shawl might look intimidating, but really it's like hiking. It's really just walking. Knitting a shawl is just knitting back and forth in rows. That's how I feel about shawls. But this feels really magical. And I'm so proud of them. They're not perfect. They're not even wet blocked at this point because I literally finished the second one this morning. Now, the goal right now is for me to calm my excitement enough to be able to tell you all the things I want to tell you in a calm and organized way. So let's take a deep breath. Okay, let us begin. One thing that I will say is, as I was finishing the second sock, well, let me back up. On the first sock, as you can see on both, I've made a really colorful cuff because I can't do anything plain even when I'm just learning. And I did this adorable, colorful matching toe, and I love it so much. But on the first sock, I did not weave in any of the colorful ends until the very end. That is very unlike me. Normally, I use the Weave and Steven as Stephen West's most ardent fan. I like to spread the gospel of the way he weaves in ends, which makes it a lot easier than going in at the end. And so I really, when I'm making a colorful project, try to do the Weave and Steven, which is weaving in your ends as you go, even though that doesn't work 100% of the time, depending on the stitch pattern you're using. I find that it is incredible. And even if I have to weave in a little bit more of that end once I'm done, it makes it so much easier. So I did not do that, the Weave and Steven, on these socks, because I'm not sure how it works, given the gauge and given that a sock needs to fit nice and snugly, ideally. If that Weave and Steven technique would add bulk into places you didn't want. So I didn't do that. And I didn't, stop midway on the first one and weave in any any of the ends. Now on the second one, I learned from I wouldn't call it a mistake, but my choice on the first sock, and halfway through the leg, the gray part, I stopped, I wove in all the ends of my cuff. And so when I finished the sock today, all I had to do is weave in the ends of the toe. I cannot tell you how much I think that is helpful to me personally in my knitting, and I wanted to bring it up because maybe you will realize that not leaving your ends until the end is actually giving your future self the biggest gift you can imagine, because we have so much excitement when we get to the end, and then when we have to stop and weave in a trillion ends, it robs you of a little bit of your sparkle. So I think when you're kind of in the middle and you kind of maybe you're a little bored and you're out and you are kind of distracted, you're having a conversation with someone, maybe just weave in your ends then, because it just, you'll feel so accomplished. The whole project will suddenly look neater. And then you have more momentum in the middle. And when you get to the end, you'll be just so thrilled not to have to weave in those ends. So note number 1, stop and weave in your ends. Note number 2, I love the shadow wrap heel. The first one, so I'll pause and say, if you didn't see my episode last time, I talked about the shadow wrap heel a lot. It's a heel done in short rows, and I love short rows generally in life, but I found this heel to be really satisfying because it shapes and creates the heel all in one go. You're not creating, like with the heel flap, you have to create the heel flap, then you've got some shaping, and then you have to pick up rows. I probably mixed the order of those up. I really like this because you get the whole thing and then you're off to the foot. And I really, really like that. Also, I find that the depth of this heel fits my foot really well, my particular shape of foot. Now, that might not translate to everybody's feet shape. And I think that's where kind of trying different things out would help. This pattern is the Slouch Sock pattern by Summer Lee. I should have said that at the beginning, apologies. However, I did not do the heel that she recommended, or not recommended, but designed, which is the Afterthought heel. My friend Caitlin sent me the Sock Exploration pattern by Earthtones Girl. I don't know why. That just trips me up every time. Earthtones Girl, I believe. And she does, in that pattern, there was a tutorial for the shadow wrap heel, and I found that to be amazing. Like the first time I did it, obviously I had to watch the videos and it was very easy to follow, but the second heel was almost, I would say 85% the shadow wrap heel was memorized. It's so intuitive and it makes so much sense in terms of the construction. And one thing in knitting generally that I've found is if you take the time to like really try to understand what the construction is accomplishing, it makes it a lot easier to correct your mistakes. And the next time you encounter that, it makes it a lot easier to execute. So I really tried to pay attention to what the short rows were accomplishing in each step so that the second time when I went and did it, I wasn't second guessing myself as much. My goal is truly to be able to just be handed a ball of yarn and needles and be able to knit a sock for myself from nothing, like not having to look at anything. So my goal is to memorize the shadow wrap heel, and she made it so easy to do that. I will say sometimes the introduction to the videos would be so long and rambling that I almost wanted to have her cut those things down. Even though there's lots of nuggets of really important stuff in there, sometimes the video would just kind of go on and on. But anyway, that's beside the point. I have no place criticizing anyone who's going on and on, since that's my bread and butter. But nevertheless, love the shadow wrap heel, could not recommend it enough. Another little tip that I realized or came to, I don't know, is on my first sock, I was often changing the orientation of the stitches to avoid any laddering in my magic loop. I know a lot of you knit your socks with 2 long needles. I don't do that just because I want the convenience of just having one set of needles to fuss with. However, sometimes when you are doing magic loop, you kind of change the orientation so there's not one row of laddering if you're getting any laddering. And that's all well and good. But when you are done with the heel, I found that keeping the orientation of the loops just as they were, keeping the top and the bottom of the sock on the same needles the whole time really made my life a ton easier when I got to the toe decreases, because if you keep shifting them, you almost like lose, or I was struggling. I was like losing exactly where those increases should be in orientation to the heel. And it's just a little tricky to pinpoint it to the exact stitch. And I think on my first sock, I feel like I was a stitch off. So on the second sock, I made sure and kept stitch markers on the needle, even though it's kind of annoying, just so that I wouldn't lose that exact orientation, and it made starting the toe decreases really easy. Okay, let's see. Let me make sure. I think those were the little tips I wanted to share that I learned. And I have to say, I have like a good knitting angel and a bad knitting angel on my shoulders right now. The good one is like knitting with such a tiny circumference, a tiny needle and a very thin fingering weight sock yarn inevitably puts pressure, no matter how good your form is and how careful you are. It inevitably puts pressure on the structure of your hand, muscles, ligaments, all that stuff, joints. Just because, look at these needles. They're just tiny, and I could probably go tinier if I wanted to. So the good angel is saying, take a break. Don't jump right into another sock on your needles. And then the naughty angel is like, no, you need to cast on the exact same sock immediately so that you solidify the whole thing in your mind. Because I told you my goal is to be able to just be able to pick up and knit socks whenever I want to. That's just my personal goal. So I think I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm definitely gonna give myself a little time, but the problem is I have this beautiful sock yarn right here. This is Hedgehog Fibers sock yarn in the oyster colorway, and I just love it so much. It's been sitting in my stash for a long time, and I'm just dying to knit with it. I bought it to make a shawl that I never cast on, and so now I really think it would be the prettiest pair of socks, and I think I could get 2 pairs, one for myself and one for my daughter out of these. And I thought I was going to try the DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry. However, I think I'm going to stick to the Socksploration sock because I want to solidify it. I cast on 64 stitches as my circumference because that matched the circumference of my foot, meaning that's what the guidance in the pattern says. But as I said last time, my foot is a lot bigger than my calf. Like I have a very skinny ankle and calf and a giant man foot. So I'm gonna do the smaller size. I wanna cast on, I think it's 56 stitches, and do the straight, not a slouchy sock like this is. I wanna do it straight. So that is why I don't want to try the DRK Everyday Sock, because that is a toe up sock, the completely different structure, a completely different heel. And before I start venturing out into that, I want to really master this sock because I like a non-ribbing sock. I'm not someone who hates ribbing at all, but the everyday sock is in ribbing head, toe to calf, so to speak. I like this stockinette leg because it's just easy and fun for me. Like if I'm out on the go, it's just easy to go round and round in stockinette. I love it. So that is what I think this yarn is going to become. We'll see when I cast it on. I don't know. The other thing I have to say that is so funny, yesterday, so the second sock went by so fast. I cast it on Sunday and I finished it today, which is like Wednesday morning is when I finished it. So it was just so easy. And that's with weaving in every single end. Like this is a clean sock, y'all. It's not like inside it looks like a English sheepdog. It's actually the ends are all woven in. But I was at my daughter's volleyball practice yesterday and I was like right around here with my gray. And I was getting closer and closer. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't have the other sock. No, I don't know if I had the other sock with me. But I realized it doesn't end in gray. Like I had striped the toe. So I immediately stopped, and I was so worried that I had gone too far with the gray, and I was not going to rip back, y'all. The thought of ripping back these minuscule stitches was just not high on my to-do list. So I got home and I was praying to the yarn gods, and I matched them up, and literally where I had stopped was exactly the row that the pink was meant to start. And I just thought that was like the most delightful knitter's kismet ever. If that's ever happened to you, it's such a good feeling. You feel like there's a force that has your back. So anyway, I'm gonna put a picture up of me wearing these. It's made me so happy. So happy. Like I tried them on with my Birkenstocks, and they just were unbelievably cute. I can't even. I can't wait to wash them so that all the stitches kind of settle. But they're not perfect by any means. There's still like little things in here that I need to work out and practice, but I don't care. I love them so much. They're just so fun and joyful and delightful. So thank you for accompanying me on this sock knitting journey that has landed me exactly where I had hoped I would land. Okay, that is all about my beautiful socks. What's next for me? So I'm still working on the Garter Glide Tee by James N. Watts. I haven't shown you that in a few weeks because I haven't had as long chunks of taping time as I normally do. And so I'm trying to kind of cut out things where I can. So you will see that guy next time I tape for sure. I better have it finished. I thought I'd have it finished by now, but I don't. But so that is, I would say, 80% done. I think I've got a little bit of the back panel left. I got to seam the front and back, and then I have to do the collar, and that's it. However, you know me, the minute one thing's off the needles, I'm dreaming of a new exciting thing. And I do not know how this next cast on landed in my brain, but it landed in my brain like a bolt of lightning and would not let me go. And I was enabled by my friend Jessica when I told her, I sent her the picture, and she was like, oh my God, so cute. And she gave me the idea of the yarn to use. So it is the Flutterbutt shorts by Jessie Maed Designs. If you have been here for a while, you know I love Jessie Maed Designs. They are not necessarily the most entertaining knits, but they are knits that are classic and so wearable as staples in your life. I am today wearing the Open Edge tee by her. You can't quite see it with the way I'm sitting, but it has this drop stitch. Is it drop stitch? I can't even remember now. I don't remember what created this little edge detail in this sweater. I mean, this little top. And it was meant to have sleeves. I just got so bored of this that I thought it was cute enough without sleeves. And I actually love it because it makes it a little bit more versatile for me as a layering piece. But this is linen quill in the colorway Fresh Nutmeg. I had bought 3 skeins of this yarn. I don't remember when, but it's been in my stash for a while. If you know that I love linen quill, you know how much I love linen quill. And it's one of the few yarns that I will buy and just keep in my stash because it's a workhorse for me. I feel like it's just a Goldilocks yarn in terms of color selection, price point, composition. It's linen, alpaca, and wool. Quantity of yardage you get. It's just a fantastic yarn. I love it. I don't find it itchy at all. Some people do find it itchy. Anyway, the point is, Jessica, when I sent her the picture of the Flutterbutt shorts, she said, oh, you should make it in linen quill. That'd be so perfect, and you have it in your stash. And I thought, she's genius because she's just genius. But the thing that it's so cute, and I always thought I couldn't pull it off, was the little short and top sets that Jessie Maed Designs does. So she has a few, like she has the summer shorts and top, and then she has the Flutterbutt top and shorts, and then she even has an open edge tee and matching shorts. And I always just thought, like, I just wasn't confident enough to even try to pull that off as like a set. But then I just thought, like, why not? Like, the socks were a new adventure and they were so fun, and the newness of it was just such a fun thing injected into my knitting life that I thought, like, why not try to make the little shorts? And if I look ridiculous, then I'll just wear them around the house, you know, because I'm always around the house anyway. Like, I'm not going anywhere. The house is just the happiest place I like to be. So I thought, since I have this little top in Fresh Nutmeg, I picked Fresh Nutmeg for the shorts because maybe it'll look absurd and I'll look like a giant toddler in my matching set, or maybe it'll be like cute little matching pajamas that I love to wear every second I can. I don't know how you guys feel about matching pajamas, but I am a huge fan of matching pajama sets, like the literal buttons and the collar, and I have this pair of shorts, like shorty set with short sleeves and shorts instead of pants, and I put them on every chance I get. They just, the minute I put them on, I feel like an exhale, you know, like it just, I feel just settled into the evening or whenever in my day that I can make it work. And it's a state of mind is triggered, like a really calm state of mind is triggered when I put on those pajamas. Anyway, so I thought maybe like this little set might have a homemade version of that. So homemade, that sounds quaint. I'm gonna say handmade. So anyway, that was my thinking. I didn't pick the open edge shorts just because I like the Flutterbutt ones so much more. Give me a ruffle any day. I just think ruffles are so cute and they look fun to make. I've never made anything with the ruffled edge, so I've dove down the Ravelry project rabbit hole, which always helps me because it gives you a sense before you start of any pitfalls that you might encounter. So I saw that a lot of people thought they were pretty enormous. So I'm casting on the small, but I also dropped down my needle size 2 needle sizes, and I gauge swatched that way, and I liked the fabric, and I got a tighter gauge. So it'll be a small, but a little bit smaller. So kind of between an extra small and a small. I also read that not to start the ruffles too late because the leg gets kind of wide, and then you kind of might have this awkward ruffles at the midpoint of your thigh rather than a little bit higher. So just, I'm going to be aware of that. So yeah, I'm really excited. I gauge swatched yesterday, and now this morning I started the cast on. It looks really wonky and ugly, but this is how I like to do my provisional cast ons. If you are still doing a provisional cast on with scrap yarn and a crochet hook, might I offer a much more efficient and speedy hack? I am going to leave a link in the show notes. I know I am the most inconsistent show note creator ever, but it's not because I don't love you. It's because I often barely have time to tape, edit, and upload. And then by the time that's done, the uploading usually happens while I'm not at home. And then I have to make a thumbnail. I know you're like, why are you telling me this? But it's because I tell you everything. By the time all that is done, and I think I remember the show notes, like 2 days have gone by. So, but today I'm going to put the video link because I have sifted through many YouTube tutorials to find this exact one. And this is the best way to do a provisional cast on with a knitting cord, which is what this is. Some brands call it barber cords, some call it knitting cords. I have the brand, I can't remember, Pearl and something, but they come in this adorable little tin, and they're these silicone cords with a tiny little hole. So this cast on just happened so quickly with this method that this specific tutorial shows. And then when you're ready to have the stitches back on your needle, you literally pop it onto your spare needle and slide those stitches. I think it's so, like, infinitely easier. I have done it all different ways, and this is the way to go. This construction starts with the provisional cast on, and then it's kind of cool. Well, she has you make a giant I-cord. I ain't doing that. I'm just gonna buy like a cute velvet ribbon. I'm kind of visualizing like a fuchsia velvety ribbon as the cord rather than an I-cord. So you make the casing, and then you put your I-cord or ribbon inside there, and then you knit your active live stitch with the provisional cast on to close the I-cord into the waistband. And I just think that sounds both annoying and fun at the same time. So I will report back how that goes, so that if you find yourself wanting to do this project, maybe I can help you prevent some of the mistakes that I inevitably will make with that cast on. Because it is a fussy thing to knit 2 stitches together like that, but I've done it before, and I'm hoping the cast on is like 114 stitches, and that's not too bad. So I am really excited about this project. And again, back to Linen Quill, I bought 3 skeins. I have made this top, I have made a ranunculus, and I still have at least a skein and a half left for these shorts. And I don't think I'll use that much. And that just shows you how much yardage you get in these skeins of Linen Quill. It's just, and if you buy them on sale, the Linen Quill balls, which Pearl Soho has sales all the time, like all the time, between 20 and 25% off. You can just get such a good deal. It's like $11 and change for a beautiful skein of yarn that you can use for just so many things. And one of the things I love about it is it just doesn't look flat at all. It doesn't look super washy at all. It just has this beautiful organic look, and it just looks very elevated to me. That tiny bit of linen in there just makes it look just so lovely. I've waxed poetic about it many a time. So if you go back, you will see many, odes to Linen Quill, but it's just such a pretty colorway. I love it against my skin because it's basically matches my skin, but it's a beautiful, beautiful color. So I am really, really excited about that. I'm just looking at my notes here to make sure I'm not forgetting anything I want to tell you about it. But I'm not. We are going to the mountains we leave this weekend, and I'm so excited. I'm going to take the Garter Glide Tee to finish, hopefully. I'm going to take many a project. But hopefully this will be one. But I want to be at a point where I'm not doing anything too complicated, because when I'm doing complicated things, I usually need all my knitting tools, and inevitably I forget something when I go to the mountains. You can't take everything you own on vacation. I don't suggest trying, but I definitely will have to sit down and think about all the various things I might need to get this project going if I don't have time between now and Sunday. So today's actually Wednesday. I never tape this early, but this week is so complicated with kid stuff that this is literally the only little time slot that I have to be with you guys this week. And since I won't be here next week for sure, because I'll be on vacation and I can never find time on vacation to tape, it'll be 2 weeks, and I didn't want it to be 3 weeks. Or yeah, we'll skip a week is what I'm trying to say. Okay, that is all the knitting I have to show you today. I didn't want to show you the tea because I wanted to talk to you about books. I was so excited. I loved the read I just finished, which was The Midnight Library by Haig. Oh my gosh, this one was recommended by one of you, and so many times you guys will leave me comments with your book recommendations, and I often look them up and add them to my queue, or I just see if they appeal to me. And this one I had put in my Libby queue, and it came up, and I just really, really enjoyed it. It was one of those reads that it was so thought-provoking while still being entertaining, and it didn't feel too light. It didn't feel too heavy. It didn't drag on too much. I just thought he did a really, really good job. Honestly, don't know how I missed this one. It came out in 2020, and normally, like, books are on my radar, and somehow I missed it completely, and I'm just so glad someone recommended it because I just really, really enjoyed it. It just made me think, and it stayed with me. That's how you know a book has an impact on you, because days and days go by and you're still thinking about it. And I just can't stop thinking about how it's just such a human, like a ubiquitous quality in all human beings, that we're constantly looking backwards and forwards, and we struggle so much to stay present, right? Like, even if you think about it in terms of knitting, we'll be so keen on starting a project, and we'll be in the middle of that project, and we find it so hard to just really enjoy it without thinking about the next thing you want to cast on. And that's how so many people tend to have like languishing projects and stuff, because the thing that we aren't doing, or the path that we didn't take, or the thing that has the lure of the unknown, is so appealing to us. And I think part of growing up and part of getting older that I have loved so much, that has made me so much of a happier person, is realizing what a trap that is. And that really the key to happiness is trying to bring your attention back to the moment you're in, to the life that you're in. And this book just took that, like, hit home, that whole concept hit home so well with this book. I will not ruin anything for you, but she, the main character is able to experience many different paths her life could have taken in just so many ways, just like little choices that led her down different paths that from her real life might seem like a dream come true. And then only to realize that it's never the big, flashy things about people's lives that bring us happiness. The things that bring us happiness are the small things, like putting on your favorite pajamas and playing a board game with your kids, or taking a walk and listening to the wind rustle through the trees, or watching your dog sleep and dream. These are all things that just bring me so much joy. It's not the big flashy things. Like, I used to think, like, if I got a certain number of subscribers, it would be like some monumental thing. And it didn't take long for me to realize it would be no different than it is now. My life would not be any different if just a few more people watched me. You know what I mean? And I just think it was such a beautiful reminder, like, to go through this path with her, for her to see that the ability to be happy was right there, and all she had to do was, really embrace her life with all its imperfections. And there is no life that doesn't have the flip side. Like, the beautiful things always come with a price. Always, always, always. And it's just a beautiful book. I'm rambling as I do, but I really enjoyed it, and it enriched my life and made me look at my life through fresh eyes. And I think anytime we can see our life for what it actually is. We get so numb to the beautiful things on our own lives. And I think social media makes this a billion times harder because everybody's always posting these aspirational things about their lives and glossing over so much and not talking very much about the price of all the things that are beautiful. I don't know. It's just it's lovely to be reminded of the beauty of your ordinary life. And if you are a knitter, I think you do recognize the beauty in the small things, because I feel like that's what knitting does for me so much, is bring me into the present, into the beauty of the present, into the beauty of making one stitch after the next in hopes of creating something beautiful that brings you joy. And I bet you're something like that too. Unfortunately, a book that has not clicked with me yet is the book that I was so excited about, the prequel to The Story of Edgar Sawtelle by David Wroblewski. The book is called Familiaris, and I was so excited about it. And it's just, I'm not able to connect with it in the way I really connected with the first book. And that's just, it makes me, I would be lying if it made me feel like, it makes me feel like I'm not bringing something to it, like that I know it must be there. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong. And then I think it's reading. There's no way to do it wrong. Like, let's not blame anybody, but the reality is I find it a little meandering. For instance, this is what happens in this book. I will be like, he will say something in the present of a character that's completely like my curiosity is piqued. And then 2 sentences later, he will back up like 40 years and start going into some random thing. And I mean, literally there was one point I was like, oh my God, finally, like tell me more. And then it's like in 1888, I'm like, oh honey, no, I don't want to back up to the 1800s right now. So I'm going to stay with it, but it's not having the summer energy that I was hoping for my reads to have right now. So rather than, be upset about it, it is like 800 pages or something absurd like that. So I'm going to leave it as a background read. I'm going to kind of dip in and out of it. But I was looking at my Libro FM wish list, and I saw that one of the books I was really excited about came out. And so I couldn't resist getting that. It's not on Libby. It's going to be years before I would get it on Libby. Excuse me, dry throat. It is called Same as It Ever Was, and the author is Claire Lombardo. I read her book, The Most Fun We Ever Had. These titles in my mind are getting mixed up. That's why I wrote them down, so that I wouldn't mix them up. The Most Fun We Ever Had was a book that I loved. It is the kind of book I love, which is a story about ordinary people living their ordinary lives in their ordinary families. And I just love books like that. I think there's, like I just said, there's so much depth and complexity and human drama in these ordinary things. And so I love books that explore that. And that book was one of my favorites. I loved it so much. I would go back and read it. Highly recommend. I remember giving it to friends, and I think I gave it to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law said to me, I don't understand why you liked this book so much. And I was like, oh man, I hate when that happens. I'm always scared of recommending books to y'all in fear that you won't like them, but that's just the nature of reading. It's a risk you take. If you're going to take a book rec, you might not agree with it. So I need to, let that burden go, because I'm constantly making book recommendations to you. But anyway, The Most Fun We Ever Had was just such a great book. I loved it. Like I said, I would read it again. So I was very excited about this new book, and I started it yesterday, and I am definitely getting out of it what I wasn't getting out of Familiaris, which is just like a can't put it downness that I really love about reading. My only thought is the main character, the narrator, is so annoying to me. I find her really, really annoying. And I don't know, maybe you won't, but I did. I do. But it's not stopping me from wanting to know what is happening and what is going to happen. But I don't know that it'll be because she's so annoying, unless she redeems herself. I think some of her personality characteristics are just things that trigger me. She feels very defeatist and negative and whiny, and I don't know. That's a tough one for me to get behind, but I'm curious what you think. So please, if you are going to read it, please let me know if you like it, what you think. I do like the narration, which I think is super important because the combination of an audiobook and knitting is quite possibly just untoppable. And add in a coffee in the morning or a glass of wine in the evening, and you have everything worth living for. What else? Those are the books. The show, I told you last time, we watched Eric, and I loved it. Loved it, loved it. Obviously, I loved it because I just brought it up again. But we're watching another show I really like that is so much more intense than I thought it was going to be. It is Your Honor, starring Bryan Cranston, the guy that starred in Breaking Bad. He was also Tim Whatley, the dentist to the stars on Seinfeld, if you're a Seinfeld fan. I loved him on Seinfeld. He's actually hilarious. And him and Elaine had such good chemistry. Anyway, I digress. Your Honor is so good. It has the same intensity of a Breaking Bad kind of drama. I thought it was going to be more TNT drama than HBO drama because I just thought it wouldn't be as heavy and intense as it is. But I've had to take many deep breaths and remind myself that it is fiction and that I need to not get too upset by the happenings of this, because there's a lot of things in this show that happen that are really triggering. So I don't know. However, it is really good. I don't know how many seasons there are. I am really enjoying it. So if you haven't seen it, it is on Netflix. I think it might be a new addition to Netflix because all of a sudden I felt like Netflix was trying to recommend it a bunch. So it might be new on Netflix, but the acting is great. The story is super compelling. If you like intense dramas, I think it's right up your alley. That is it, my friends. I am so glad we got to bang this one out. I feel like I talked a million miles an hour. I might be over caffeinated because it is really hot. And instead of replacing my hot coffee with cold coffee in the hotter months, I have somehow ended up doing both. So I have hot coffee, and then for many, many, many hours after that, I'm drinking cold coffee. And I think I need to monitor my coffee intake a little bit better. It's like that bottomless glass of wine that can get you in trouble. Like when you're with friends and someone just keeps topping you off and you never know how many glasses you've had. That's me with coffee right now. And I feel like I need to drink some water. So apologies for buzzing through the last 45 minutes. It's also just sometimes you need the buzzing to get through the day. It's just the summer has been a little bit bonkers. My son is at another basketball camp. He's sleeping there, but at least it's local. It's at CU Boulder. And I'm so excited because today in the evening, we're allowed to go and watch one of their practices. So my daughter and I are going to do that. My husband is out of town right now. And I'm so excited to see him play and just to see him and take him like a little goodie basket of Gatorades and all his favorite treats. So I'm really, really excited to see him. It's been a really intense camp. They do 3-a-days, so they're working out. They're doing their, they have gym sessions 3 times a day and then 3 classroom sessions. So they start about 8:30 in the morning and they go till 10:30 at night. So it's just been, he's exhausted, and but I know he's going to get a lot out of it. So I'm really proud of him for being able to, just have the wherewithal and stamina to do that, because that is no joke. It's been an inspiration to me. You know your kids are getting older when they start inspiring you. So I feel like I've been able to drive a little harder in my own workouts and kind of get a little more focused. I felt like I was drifting in my own inspiration in the gym, and I'm feeling more on point. Unfortunately, I feel like being more, zoned into workouts has come at the cost of spinning fiber. I know that sounds like the most absurd juxtaposition, but there's only so much time in the day, and it's really hard to do all the things I need to do and all the things I want to do. And spinning has sadly taken, what am I trying to say? It just feels like it's on the back burner, and I need to just carve out 5 minutes. Like, a lot of times I find it really helpful. I'm a type A timer or list kind of person. So literally putting on a timer and spinning for 5 minutes a day seems so doable and will keep my mind kind of still dipping in and out of that. Because right now I feel like with the kids in summer mode, it's just like my daughter has a camp that's 2 hours a day. What the heck? What kind of camp is that? It's not camp, but it's pottery, and she is loving it. And I'm loving it for her. Like, I love that she's at the age where it's not just like a camp that's just busy work, like, oh, paint a unicorn and we add glitter or something. It's like she's actually learning how to make pottery on a wheel. So I love that, and she's loving it, like I said. And I just wish it was an extra hour, just 3 hours. 3 hours seems reasonable. 2 hours does not. Anyway, okay. Officially entering into stream of consciousness territory. I'm gonna go drink water and not iced coffee, and I hope you have a lovely end of June. I cannot believe how fast June went. It's just a time warp. It's about to be July 4th. I hope if you are in the States, you have a lovely, safe, healthy, hydrated, cool July 4th. Stay inside, get some shade, get a big hat to protect your beautiful face, and knit away. That's how I plan to celebrate my vacation in the mountains. So I hope you have a lovely few weeks. I will see you in 2 weeks. Until then, be well, be kind, be happy, and happy knitting. See you later.